Hi, and welcome to the series of lessons about basic fasm. This lesson would be about introduction to the fasm assembler. Objectives of this lesson. You will learn generally about different x86 assemblers. You will be introduced to the fasm assembler. You will know about fasm's general features, and also you will know how to install fasm. We will have a demonstration for this. The assembler. The processor can only understand numbers as instructions. We already talked about this in the past, but this is very important, so I want to emphasize this. Human beings are not very good at remembering numbers, at least me. Every opcode was given a mnemonic so that it would be easier to remember. For example, these are some instructions that we have already seen, and this is the encoding for the x86 processor for these instructions. This might be a bit interesting that these instructions, the move instructions, have pretty long encoding, however the div instruction has a little one. The assembler translates text-based instructions into numeric encoding. The assembler can take this kind of text, those instructions, and convert them into this encoding that the processor can understand. The assembler actually does some other important things. We just don't have the ability to understand them at this point. I assure you that we are going to talk about those later. Some common x86 assemblers. The first one of the most famous ones, is fasm, also known as Microsoft Macro Assembler. It was created by Microsoft about 1981. These days, this assembler arrives with Microsoft SDK or C compilers, and it cannot be found as a standalone product. That means you can't really search for fasm and then download it from Microsoft's website. You have to get it through something else, like together with Visual C++, or maybe together with the SDK. It is free, but legally it can only be used to develop programs for the Windows operation system. You can actually even develop commercial programs for the Windows operation system. However, you cannot work outside if you are going to use the fasm assembler. The next assembler, NASM, also known as the Net-Wide Assembler. Originally by Simon Tatam and Julian Hall, it was released in 1996. It is also free, and in addition open source. This assembler is cross-platform. It works both on Windows, Linux, and even some other interesting operation systems. GAS, the GNU assembler. Made by the GNU project, it is free and open source and cross-platform. There are many others assemblers for the x86 platform. For example, YASM, TASM or TASM, and GoASM. And there are more. If you will search for it in the internet, for example, you are going to find many more assemblers. x86 platform is a very common one, so there are actually many assemblers for this platform. The fasm assembler, also known as the flat assembler. fasm stands for flat assembler. Created by Thomas Griestar, released in 2000. It is free and open source. Also cross-platform, like some other assemblers that we previously mentioned. That means that it is going to work on Windows or even DOS, if you want to, and also on Linux and some other Unix-like operation systems. It is written in the assembly language. Even further, current releases are written in fasm. That means that you can actually read the source of this assembler in the same language that it can assemble. You can read it in fasm. It allows to build source into an executable file without a linking stage. This is a nice feature as a beginner, so you don't have to use a linker. You can just write the source and press a button, and then have the executable ready to run. Why fasm? I mostly write this for you, the advanced programmer that might be worried about my choice. Maybe you are worried because you want to do your own research and choose your own assembler, and this is fine. Maybe you would like to use some other assembler which is like fasm, or maybe one which is a bit different. I will tell you the main reasons why I chose fasm for this course, and you can make your own choice eventually. fasm has a very simple syntax. The simple syntax that it uses is also known as the Intel style syntax. Maybe this point deserves some clarification. In the x86 architecture world, there are two basic syntaxes that you might encounter: the Intel style and the AT&T style. We are mostly going to work with the Intel style. The AT&T style can be found, for example, in the GAS assembler, the GNU assembler. You might see it at some points. One of the strange features in it is that the move instructions are the other way. The move is from left to right and not from right to left, like we learned in this course. We are mostly going to work with this syntax, the Intel style. We are not going to talk about the other syntax. And fasm uses this syntax, the Intel style. It is very similar to NASM, by the way. Actually, most of the programs that you can write in NASM, you can just copy-paste and do a bit of modification and make it work in the fasm assembler. And it also works in the other way. fasm is easy to begin with. That's at least my opinion. Mostly because the source can be built directly into executable. You don't need for any external programs or linkers or anything else. Also, it has some very nice feature that the fasm itself doesn't need many arguments that you have to learn about. You just run the fasm command and it immediately assembles your files. You don't have to know many other things. fasm is free and open source, and also it doesn't have any kind of strange restricting license. So you can actually download fasm assembler and create your own programs. You can even sell those programs, and everyone is going to be cool with that. You don't have to buy anything or pay anything. fasm has a very supportive community forums. Some people say that maybe NASM or other assemblers have very large community and many developers. It is true that fasm doesn't have so many developers as the NASM assembler. However, it still has a very supportive community. You can find many people that can help you when you try to program in fasm. We will later see those forums. These are very interesting places and very supportive for newcomers like you. People are going to actually answer your very strange questions, and they are going to be very patient, at least usually. As a last comment, I want to say that if you actually know x86 architecture well, then the specific choice of assembler is merely a matter of taste. Actually, what I'm trying to say is that the choice doesn't really matter at this point. That's why if you don't know what to choose, just go on with my choice, which is fasm. Later you can change it if you want. Maybe when you know more about x86, maybe you are going to develop a bit of a different taste than mine, and then you would prefer some other assembler. At any time you could change it in the future. Just for now, I really recommend the fasm assembler. We will not discuss very specific features of fasm. We are mostly going to use it to learn x86 assembly. So don't worry, we are not going to depend on some very specific feature of fasm. Most of the programs we are going to write are going to run the same on other assemblers. As I said, you can choose a different assembler in the future, and you are going to know how to use it basically, because if you have some experience with fasm, you can pretty quickly understand how any other assembler for x86 works. About getting fasm. It's pretty easy. You go to this website, flatassembler.net. By the way, you don't have to remember all of what I'm going to say because there is going to be a demonstration about this, about getting fasm and installing it. So basically you have to go to this address where the flat assembler is stored. You click on the download section and then you download flat assembler for Windows. If you use a different operation system, I don't recommend this, but if you do use a different operation system, then choose the right operation system. For example, if you are using Linux, then you might want to download the flat assembler for Linux. The one for Windows is not going to work for you. Later, extract the compressed file to some folder. There is actually no installation. You just extract the compressed file and then it is ready to run. Then you have to fix some passes if you want to work with fasm regularly. You have to add the fasm directory to the pass environment variable. If you have never heard of it, don't worry. We are going to see an example for this in the demonstration. Then you have to add the include environment variable name, and you have to make it equal to the path of the include folder inside the fasm package. And mostly this is it. After you did all of this, you are ready to go for the next lessons. And you will be able to do all the examples that we are going to show.